When the internet began, bulletin board services, or BBS, became the first online communities of the so-called information superhighway. Using their phone lines, people logged in from all over America to talk about sports, games, movies, and on one BBS in particular, share their ghost stories. Over time, those communities all went dark, except for one lone server that continues to operate somewhere in an unknown part of Pennsylvania's Rust Belt. A relic of the 1990s, veiled in mystery, it is a digital archive of humanity's strangest encounters with the unknown, as told by the people who experienced them. My name is Brandon Schexnayder, and you are listening to Fear Daily.
Subject: Sleepless. User: B9HT0. Posted March 11th, 1998.
Lately, I haven't been sleeping. It doesn't matter what time I go to bed. All that ends up happening as the minutes give way to hours is I watch the lights from passing cars make patterns on my ceiling. Eventually, the harsh blackness of night gives way to the gray of morning and the day starts again. Each cycle of sun up to sundown saps a little more energy from me to the point where I've burned all my sick leave and vacation days and now I'm back at work, dragging my ass. It's bad enough that even in a shit show like our warehouse, someone is gonna notice and write me up, like I don't have enough on my mind. In light of all of this, last night felt like a godsend. Around 10 p.m., I was watching some terrible movie of the week when my head started drifting downward to my chest. Fatigue was such an unfamiliar feeling that my brain's immediate response was to send a spike of adrenaline as if it was afraid the rest of my body had decided to switch off permanently. When even that surge passed, I realized I was, at last, well and truly tired. Once that connection had been made, the cumulative weight of those sleepless nights collapsed in on me. I barely made it to the bedroom before collapsing on top the bed, fully clothed as darkness swarmed in. Waking up from that abyss was like being dumped into a foreign city without a map or working knowledge of the language. There were familiar shapes, albeit arranged into configurations I couldn't recognize. Opening my inexplicably puffy, sore eyes a little wider, I was able to identify my surroundings as the same room I'd gone to sleep in, complete with striated lights cast through my blinds from the street below, and yet something was different. My throat was even more out of sorts than my eyes, scratchy and parched, the way I'd expect if I'd been out drinking. But I hadn't done that in months. Tired though I was, a voice inside me said I couldn't hope to get back to sleep without at least one glass of water. From there, it should have been a simple matter of getting up to fetch one from the kitchen. It's a one-bedroom apartment, meaning that kind of task shouldn't take more than 3 minutes, tops. The thing is, that same voice was insistent about something else, that, at least for now, I needed to stay exactly where I was. What it wouldn't or couldn't tell me was why. All it could do was provide a vague sense of unease until I heard the noises. They were subtle, the kind of thing I might not have noticed in my old apartment with its barely there insulation, and nightly parking lot bum fights. In this new place, though, sealed off from the outside world with triple-paned windows, the sound of popping joints and soft footsteps may as well have been cannon shots. Curiously, no spike of adrenaline accompanied this intrusion. Instead, ice-cold fear spread from my chest into the body's furthest extremities. This wasn't paralysis because I could move. I was just too afraid to. Another sound followed, unmistakably that of rustling paper. Someone was leafing through the receipts I'd left out on my desk, a tax time project still in the process of being sorted. This wasn't the light jostling you might expect from a poorly positioned fan or air conditioner. Not that I have either. This was very clearly someone picking up the haphazardly organized slips of paper, examining them one by one, then putting them back down again. In ordinary circumstances, I might make a joke about this. Someone broke into my house to do my taxes. Except in that moment, humor was the furthest thing from my mind. A stranger was in my house. What else could it be? And I felt too weak to do anything about it. Pressure was throbbing behind my eyes. I felt as if any attempt at standing had a 50-50 chance of ending with me crashing to the floor and drawing the attention of my intruder. But what else could I do? Just laying there until my burglar found me wasn't really an option, so either I could make enough noise in the getting up that it spooked them, or, God forbid, I could simply confront them. Getting to my feet was easier than expected. Of course, I had forgotten about the car keys in my right pocket, and at their sudden jingling, the noise in the next room stopped dead. I took a single, tentative step forward, only to be met with a sight I'd been dreading this whole time. A dark figure rushing around the corner and through my bedroom door toward me. It was broad, its width barely clearing the frame. In the time it took to cover the distance between us, I had time only to note its billowing shape and a pair of pitiless red eyes set beneath the hood. I let loose a wordless scream before the world again disappeared into a shroud. It's impossible to say how much time had passed between that and the moment I opened my eyes again, because the red digits of my alarm clock were flashing a steady 12 o'clock. The internal voice, which had warned me earlier, was quiet now. After some deliberation and coaxing, I finally managed to venture forward into the living room, where the microwave clock was also reset. Strangely, the stove was fine. Stranger still, every single photograph of my friends and family were missing from their frames. Some of those frames had been, at best, precariously placed on their hooks, yet not a single one was disturbed in the process of removing their contents. And strangest of all, both the front door and balcony doors were securely locked, their deadbolts firmly in place. Mystified and sleepless, I sat on the edge of the couch until the sun's first rays streamed through my windows.
Subject, Black Sails. User, G. Mimoru. Posted, January 8, 1995.
Nowadays, there ain't much going on in my hometown of Sanford, Texas, but let me tell you, back in the 60s, it really seemed like things were on the up and a way they hadn't been since the Carbon Black days. We finally incorporated and hitched our school district to Fritch's. Then they finished damming up the Canadian River and we got the lake. It was a good time for our little town. By 75, things had started to cool down and I was starting to worry about my grandsons and their future. The twins, Alex and Jamie, were only 2, and both of them were the spitting image of their daddy, my son Donnie. The oldest boy, Hank, was 6 and favored his mother, Annalie. Donnie worked on the rig, so I'd stay with Annalie to help her look after the boys. I'd had 4 myself with no help from their no-account father, and I didn't want Annalie to have to go through that. Their house was a little brick number on one of the dirt roads around Sanford. I won't say exactly where because Jamie still lives there and doesn't need any more trouble than he can find himself. It was December of 75 I first heard about the bird. It was in the newspaper. 2 sheriff's deputies down in San Antonio said they saw a 10-foot wide bird fly over the top of their car. I thought it was bunk, the sort of thing you usually saw in the National Enquirer or Examiner, and sure enough, the next day they said the deputies had seen a pelican and just let their imaginations run wild. I put it out of my mind. But then, just after New Year's, I saw 2 girls on the news say they'd been playing in their yard when a bird about 5 foot tall settled near them, watching. They'd screamed and run for their parents, and of course, by the time they got out there, the bird was gone. It left some tracks, though, and they were still there by the time the news crew came. 3 big claw marks in the dirt, like the bird walked some before flying away. The news said what the news said, but I still thought it was hooey. People liking attention isn't a new thing, and I figured that until I saw a giant bird myself, I'd keep on living in this world and not the one inside the TV. Wish I'd remembered my mother's advice about being careful what you wish for. It wasn't a week later that the bird got seen again. This time in Brownsville by a Mexican man. I forget his name. He said on the TV that something big bashed into the side of his trailer, and when he went out to look, he saw a bird so big he thought it was some kind of alien. A week after that, it was Raymondsville and another Mexican man. This one caught the wrong side of the bird and it ratcheted him up something fierce, tore his clothes, and sent him to the hospital in shock. Maybe 2 weeks after that, it was sighted in Brownsville again, then down Poteet Way. I did not know what to believe, but since Poteet was a good 10 hours away, I didn't figure we had much to worry about. Besides, by this point, there was a reward out for this bird, and if there's one thing we're good at in this great state, it's shooting stuff. It all came to nothing, though. No one so much as saw the bird, never mind shot it, so the hubbub died down and no one paid it much mind, myself included. Annalie was having a tough time with Donnie gone and spent more time in bed than was proper. I had to pick up the slack with the boys. Missing men is a skill you get to perfecting if you keep at it long enough. Between my husband Charlie leaving and my 3 eldest all losing their lives in Vietnam, I'd say I was an expert. Annalie, though, she was new to it, and so I didn't give her trouble. I didn't coddle her either, you get, but everyone comes to it in their own time. By early March, she started to spend more time out on the porch with me and the boys, and by April, she was almost her old self while Donnie was away. It's a gift from God that she was too, because without her, I think we'd have lost the twins that afternoon. It was a spring day like any other. Nothing special about it. Alex and Jamie were playing in the dirt the way they always did, and Hank was at school. Annalie was out with the boys, sitting in a folding chair so she could catch a little sun after all that time inside. I was on the porch in my own chair, reading the Amarillo paper. It was the smell I noticed first. Ozone, like the way things get before a thunderstorm. We hadn't seen clouds for the better part of 2 weeks, so I was surprised and looked up to check the horizon. That's when I saw the shadow sliding over the ground. It was a bird, couldn't be anything else. At first, I couldn't tell the size. Then it passed over the driveway and spanned the whole thing, 10 feet at least, maybe 12, and it was headed straight toward the twins. I screamed Annalie's name, and her head snapped up. She looked where I was, and bless her, she didn't hesitate for a second. Annalie jumped out of that chair like a jackrabbit and grabbed the two boys, one under each arm, and sprinted to the house. It dove for her, and she made it just in time. The horrible beak spearing into the dirt as the screen door slammed behind us. I only got a quick look at it, but it was exactly what those people on the TV had said it was. A bird, but not any bird I'd ever seen. Its beak was carbon black, and the one eye I saw was bright red, like blood. Before we could do much else, it beat its wings and took off. I'll never forget the sound they made, like black sails in the sunset.
Fear Daily is an independent podcast hosted by Brandon Schexnayder and written by Brennan Storr, with Joanna Smith serving as the consulting editor, audio production by Rachel Boyd, and sound design by Southern Gothic Media. This podcast is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to real events or locations, is entirely coincidental. Ad-free versions of Fear Daily are available now on your favorite podcast apps. For more information, visit feardaily.com. But move fast, before the server goes offline.